This is the Eye for an Eye channel. Welcome to today's show. This is an important video. Please watch it and share it with other people to wake them up to what is going on. I want to start by saying, in the beginning of this video, so everybody has an understanding of what's going on, all of the chaos and all of the destruction we see going on around us, from the cities being destroyed with crimes on purpose to the outbreak that we just went through for a couple of years that continues to quietly go on, all of these things, one after the other, is for what I'm about to show you, which is the digital infrastructure system. Now, that has to do with the digital ID, which I've talked about over the years. A subscriber on the website by the name of Jesus Saves, which is a great name, shared this recent article about the UN and Bill Gates. Of course, this is all stuff we know ties into all these globalists like Bill Gates, but the UN launching what they call the 50 in 5 campaign, which will accelerate the digital public infrastructure. And if you go through the UN and the World Economic Forum's videos over the last decade or so, they've been talking about this being implemented by 2030, which tells us that there's more chaos to come. There are more false flags to come. There are more false outbreaks to come. There'll be false cyber attacks as well, all to get this stuff inside you. And you're saying, why are you going into this right now? Because I want to tie this in and make sure you understand the mark of the beast. So if you're a Christian out there, if you're new to all this stuff, the digital ID is going to be inside of your body. Over on the UN's website, where they have this article about the countries that are launching the 50 in 5 campaign, which will accelerate the digital public infrastructure, you can see them holding their phones up to one another. All right, what have we been desensitized to? Things like what? Tap and go now, tap and pay, where you tap your phone, right? These types of digital payments that keep getting more and more to the point of being inside of your body, which is exactly what we're headed towards. They use that picture as a reason, because this is going to be the first rollout of this, is going to be with using your phones to do cash transactions, which won't be cash anymore. So I should say digital money transactions using tap and pay and things like that. Now, why am I covering that as well? Because remember the stuff I've talked about over the years where they openly talk about this at places like the World Economic Forum, telling you that the next wave of phones will eventually be inside your body. People think that's a crazy notion. That's because they're desensitized to it. They don't see it coming. And when it comes, they won't say, hey, people were warning about this. They'll just go along with it, think that it's normal, think that it's okay, think that it's safe, because their celebrities, their false idols, etc., will tell them to do it. They'll tell them it's safe. They'll put out propaganda piece after propaganda piece about how great it is versus not having it, using fear, of course, telling you that your ID will get hacked, your identity will get hacked. This is all part of a massive deception that's going on. I've covered this being inside your body. I'll use this clip again. And we've all seen the clips from the Matrix as well, because they're going to turn you into a battery, but they're also going to get your phone underneath your skin. That's the next wave of technology that is about to hit us.
Matrix. Control. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world built to keep us under control, change a human being into this.
Have such a good digital twin that you'll be able to go into the metaverse, into a virtual reality world, turn a dial, pull a switch, feel around, and actually change it in the real plant?
Absolutely. And this is not far off. I mean, the physical and the digital worlds, they will grow together, and the result is exactly what you just said.
I wanted to ask when you all think we're going to move from this form factor to something that's on your face, glasses, and when computing's all on the edge.
All right, 50 seconds. Who wants to answer quickly?
I think it will go. It will. First of all, it will definitely happen. I was talking about 6G earlier, which is around 2030. I would say that by then, definitely the smartphone as we know it today will not anymore be the usual kind of the most common interface. Wow. Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies.
So this is eventually going to be inside of your bodies. This is going to track everything. And I'm going to show you what has been put on the World Economic Forum, the UN, on all of their YouTube pages, on all of their websites, all the things that these world leaders go and meet and talk about over and over and over again. The only way they were ever going to get these things into our society and implement it is by causing chaos and destruction. That means, like I said, the outbreak All the stuff you see in the cities, the stuff you saw in Maui wiping out cities, they have to wipe out the infrastructures to bring this in. This is what people don't realize. They go, well, digital public infrastructure, it just means, we're paying with our phones, eventually, of course, paying with your DNA. We're going to be paying and doing all this stuff with technology. What's the big deal? It's a huge deal because this is the system of control. This is the enslavement system. They use trigger terms like equality. All these things are all make-believe. They tell you that you're going to miss out if you're not on board. Trust me, you want to miss out on this. You do not want to be on board with this because you are going to be under a full-on microscope where people who hate you, who want to see you die, are going to enslave you under this digital surveillance system. You are going to be under digital governance. Here are the clips that they use to try to normalize this. It looks like anything else that you see, right? The background music, the way they tell you it benefits you. This is all deception. This does not benefit you. This enslaves you. And this is what they have planned for you.
We all know physical infrastructure, like bridges or railways or roads. Digital public infrastructure is simply the digital version of the same thing. We have identity cards and payment solutions, communication channels, and these are the infrastructures of the future.
When you think about services like insurance, healthcare, banking, they are built on top of the scaffolding of payment, identity, and data exchange infrastructure.
Some of the good design principles for digital public infrastructure, one is clearly designed for scale. So when you design for an entire nation, that's a lot of people. And then those people are going to be doing a lot of transactions.
Digital public infrastructure should be interoperable. The systems must be able to talk to one another. Digital public infrastructure should be accessible to all.
It could be a major equalizer through inclusive finance, through allowing renewable energy systems to operate. The ability to access information, education will help us to accelerate the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals.
Digital public infrastructure offers many developing countries a leapfrog opportunity where they don't have to invest in legacy systems, but instead can build towards the future.
The last 15-18 months with COVID provided an illustration of how quickly we can in fact mobilize technology and in order to deliver at scale completely new services.
Digital ID has become very, very important during the pandemic when people could not meet face to face. Being able to prove who you are remotely became super critical. As we rely more on digital for our work, our play, our communication, our entertainment, our democratic rights, it's very, very important that we don't create a divide.
Now's the time for all parties to come together to ensure that we have good digital public infrastructure that benefits anyone. Technology doesn't wait for people. And if we can't come together and organize and collaborate in a way that benefits all of society, these digital public infrastructure systems will get developed, but they will only benefit the few, and they will not be in the interests of all of society.
We are at a point where the realm of possibility is almost endless, but we have also learned that in order to protect that possibility, we have to put some parameters in place. We are looking for a much more distributed and conducive digital regulatory framework that allows the best in human ingenuity to also serve the best in development terms.
In my mind, it is equally about people and skills. And for a sustainable digital future, investing in upskilling and reskilling people would be as important as the investments in infrastructure.
My belief is if governments, businesses, philanthropic foundations, citizens, if we work together to combine our resources, there is no world, there is no society, there is no future that we cannot build together. But it's going to take all of us to step up and to make that a reality.
When we think about what we would be facing right now without internet connectivity, it would be much more devastating than it currently is.
From text messaging to video conferencing to communication applications to e-commerce through to telehealth diagnostics, the use of technology has been everywhere in our response to the COVID-19 crisis.
Traffic is surging. Between 30 and 50% more voice and 30 to 50% more data is being used.
These new normals, like a lot of services are not available now, so they will need to be transferred in a digital way.
Promoting network resilience in a COVID-19 era is critical. Governments should release emergency spectrum to make sure that there is less congestion in the airwaves.
In terms of ensuring access and affordability of digital services, we need to look at price reductions and discounts on capacity, airtime, and devices. And we also need to look at supporting alternative funding models for complementary access solutions.
We need to have a framework with the regulators about infrastructure sharing, also accelerating the implementation of the Universal Access Fund, and to create a condition for the private sector to continue investing to be able to connect the poorest and people in rural areas.
Many of these challenges do not need new technologies. What we need is urgent and sustained collaboration between the private sector and governments to create the right networks so that people can access and use the information and create the services that people need.
We've seen through this crisis that connectivity runs across every single sector. So the main thing really is cross-sectoral collaboration.
That's the reason we launched the Joint Action Plan, in order to be able to provide a simple guide to governments and businesses in countries around the world as to what they can do today in order to make sure that we keep connectivity available and extend it to all of those that need it.
Working as one is critical to achieve all connected world that we're all aspiring to. With connectivity comes prosperity, comes inclusion, and comes business opportunities that the world needs right now.
Digital public infrastructure may be intangible, but much like roads and railways, it is essential for societies. Built responsibly, it can empower people to take action and equip governments to build more robust economies and more resilient communities. In the face of a combination of global crises, from disease, food insecurity, political instability, economic volatility to climate change, safe, trusted, and inclusive digital public infrastructure is needed today more than ever. 2.4 billion people are facing food insecurity, and roughly 800 million people live in extreme poverty. 1.4 billion people still lack access to formal financial services, 64% of which are in low and middle-income countries. Countries are coming together to foster a new model of digital cooperation that can increase farmers' incomes by improving crop yields, and by 2030 can ensure access to digital payments for an additional 500 million people. Now is the time to seize the moment, to invest in and share knowledge on digital public goods, for us to address global challenges together and achieve the Sustainable Development Goals.
You've definitely heard of Digital Public Infrastructure, or DPI, but can you explain what it really is? Let's take a look at it through the eyes of billions of people at the risk of being left behind. Meet Amari. Amari needs to prove she owns her land, pay for government fees, and receive payments for various services. She needs to provide the Ministry of Lands a copy of her ID card, an authorization from her bank, and half a dozen other documents. Just imagine how much time she would save if she could access these documents with just a few clicks. The ministry could then also quickly make sure her documents are authentic. For this to happen, identity, credentials, and payment services must be digitized and connected with each other, both across ministries and private data providers like banks. This is exactly what DPI is all about. By digitizing more public and private services on common infrastructure, we will create more value for each of us. To actually make Amari's life easier, some rules must be respected. Think of a railway system with stations, tracks, and trains. Whatever the length of the train, the wheel spacing must be identical. Whatever route it takes, the signalling must be consistent. And whatever the train's schedule, time must be measured uniformly across stations. This guarantees the smooth functioning of the infrastructure and ensures scale-up from network effects by breaking down silos. The result? Travelers get to their destinations safely and comfortably. With built-in open standards that are reusable, not only does it become easier for Amari to access information and payments, but this infrastructure can connect everyone, everywhere, to other opportunities and services. With privacy embedded up front in the design, people can rest assured that their data will be kept safe and secure. The world over, countries are starting to build their own digital railways. The good news is they can pick among the best existing practices and adapt them to the tastes and travel habits of their people. The tracks we lay today will shape the infrastructure we will share tomorrow. So let's join forces and shape this new infrastructure towards ensuring that DPI is safe, accessible, green, financed.
So all those things that you see in that video, they like to talk about equality, ending poverty. These are all things they could do if they actually wanted to do it. Bill Gates could literally take a couple third world countries with half the money that he supposedly has or is worth, and he could feed them all, and he could take them out of poverty. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with turning everybody into one class. There'll be no middle class. There will just be these people. Everything will be under the guise of freedom still the way it is now, but it'll be under this huge misconception that the world is safer, the world is cleaner, the world is better, there's less crimes. There will be, everything will be digital, including like how you enter and exit your home, things like that. But keep in mind, there'll be, there might be no way that the guy across the street can get into your house using his phone, etc., which might sound beneficial to you. But the elites will be able to walk in and out of your home and anywhere they want to go. They will be under no restrictions. The rest of us will be under full restrictions. And there's actually idiots out there that think that this is fine. They don't realize, well, would you want Jeffrey Dahmer to have access to your home? Would you want Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger to have access to your house and your family? Of course you would. You'd be like, well, that's make-believe. Well, maybe that's make-believe. But these people are sicker than any people you've ever heard about in fiction in the history of humanity. The things that they do to children, the things that they do and get away with, they're only going to enhance that with this type of global governance. They're going to get away with murder. You're never going to hear about it. They're going to get away with enslaving us. They're going to get away with taking your own children out of your own home. It is stuff that you cannot comprehend. And it's all in the name of fancy technology, right? Hey, if we don't go this way, you're going to miss out. And everybody goes, well, we already use technology. We're already inundated with technology. What's the big deal, right? They'll use things like, your ID getting hacked. That's why that programming's been in place to scare you that your ID and your identity are going to get hacked. But really what should be occurring is everybody should say, hey, wait a minute. They've been talking about this digital public infrastructure for a long time, and they really, really seem like they want it. And they're, how are they going to get everybody on board with this? Nobody's elected these people. Nobody's elected Bill Gates. Well, the way they get you on board with it is by creating utter chaos around you. And they tell us that, well, the American experiment, all this stuff didn't work. It's always worked. The world has been fine, except for this small group of people who constantly try to take control and rule it and govern over everyone. And this is where we're headed towards because of fancy technology, because people are being so inundated with technology and wanting and loving technology. And eventually, this is the mark of the beast inside you. Because like you saw in those clips, this digital infrastructure is you. You're a part of the digital infrastructure. Your thoughts are a part of the digital infrastructure, like I've covered in the past, where they literally want to be able to know your thoughts, right? Using little subvert ways of saying that, well, this person has Parkinson's disease or can't talk or whatever, but thanks to technology, we could read his brain. And everyone's like, that's great, that's wonderful, sign me up, right? Until, of course, your brain has a thought that you can't control. Maybe you just start thinking something you shouldn't think, what it might be like to do this to Bill Gates, etc., and they'll be at your front door, right? And they won't be at your front door. They'll shoot you through your front door. They won't even open the front door. Okay, we are giving power to people who are not elected. And what's scariest about it is people trust in a lot of these people. They don't mean harm. Look at them in their business suits and their meeting. But if I told you that this was a meeting with John Wayne Gacy, the Unabomber, Ted Bundy, the Golden Gate Bridge kill, whatever that guy was, all these types of serial killers, you'd be like, whoa, right? Wait a minute. It's a meeting where Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, they're all getting together and they're going to be in control of the world. That sounds like a problem. Yeah, that's what this is. And it's going to be all under digital governance, which is what they're trying to push and promote. The infrastructure, the digital infrastructure, is being rolled out by 2030. We all know this with the digital ID where we're headed. The magic potions included, all these things tied together. And eventually what you have to keep in mind is this thing is going to start out just like that picture. I'm going to tie it all back up in the beginning, where you see two people holding their phones up and you say, oh, they're making a transaction just by holding their phones up to one another. Eventually, you're going to be making transactions via your eyes, because all of this stuff that's going to be supposedly on this cloud inside of this digital infrastructure is going to be inside your body. Okay, when they alter your DNA, which they're already doing, and your genetic code now has this embedded inside of it, you won't need your fingerprint. You won't need your Oculus, your eyeball, retina scan, because you'll be able to just walk in and out and do these things because you won't be human anymore. Your DNA will be genetically modified and coded with technology. That is the mark of the beast. And we are getting closer and closer every day. And they're normalizing these things just like you saw there. They're making it seem like it's just a progression in society. It's a normal thing. Technology's heading this way. This is where we need to go. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody talks about it. Nobody says boo. They're too distracted talking about if men could have babies, all this other crap that you hear the alt-right and the alt-left talk about. And we're letting these people get away with this stuff. This is what they've wanted. This is the most common sense talking point you could use. This is what they've said that they wanted. How would they get it? By destroying the current infrastructure. That's why they're letting criminals run amok. That's why they're literally using direct energy weapons to destroy cities. Everyone's like, why are the libs letting the cities be destroyed? Right? You hear DeSantis talking. Of course he's one of them, because otherwise he'd point out why they're doing it. He's just like, wow, what do you think? He doesn't know, Gavin Newsom? You don't think any of these Dems know what they're doing? They're globalists. They've been told to destroy the infrastructures and destroy the cities. Doesn't matter. No one's going to vote anyway for them. They're still going to win. So it doesn't matter. They don't care. They don't have to put on a smiley face so they get votes. They're destroying the cities. The votes don't count, and you're going to have to deal with it. And then the phoenix is going to rise from the ashes. So they're letting all this stuff happen so that they can bring in this digital infrastructure, this digital governance. And they're using things like inequality and all these types of trigger terms to trick you. Because you think that the inequality, if you're black and you're listening, you're like, that has to do with me because I'm black, and they're going to give me, make me have equal rights, even though I don't even realize all these talking points they use are not really true. Not everybody's racist. There's some people who are. It's really these people who are doing this system and responsible for the creation of this system. They're the ones who are behind all this stuff. But when they talk about inequality, they're not talking about gay, they're talking about black, not talking about Hispanic. What they're talking about is equity, equal equity, which is nothing, owning nothing, being happy, and being enslaved to their system. So the talking points in here are all the same talking points we hear the celebrities talk about. See how this stuff ties together? Equal rights, love wins, all these things. These people who they show in the videos that they put up who are poor in these third world countries easily could be taken care of if these people didn't own 75 private jets and 50 million homes and buy up all the farmland so they can control the food. Bill Gates owns all the farmland. Why isn't he sending food over to third world countries? Oh, right. Who am I to say what he does with his money, right? But they can say, well, we could do with ours, and they certainly can say who's allowed to make money or isn't allowed to make money based on their opinions because they don't want to be outed for what they truly are. This entire thing could be summed up for people out there that think that this stuff isn't real, and they say, well, I don't really understand what we're headed towards with digital ID. It doesn't sound like a big deal. What's the difference with having a license, right? These monsters have given you the headache that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, not just from the radiation from those towers, as they show you in those videos, but from all the chaos being ensued. They're doing it. They're doing it by design, the outbreak, all of it, so that they could reset everything and bring in a new infrastructure, an enslavement digital infrastructure. They'll be the ones in control of it, and you'll be the one who's a slave to it. I thank everybody for being here. Hope to see more of you over on the website. Uprising Revival, you got a lot of great content like this, and you could share stuff with me so we can interact with each other and all obviously have an idea of what's really going on. I hope this video was helpful. I recommend you share it with other people. Everybody needs to wake up. This isn't about black, white, gay, straight. This is about a group of sadistic psychopaths who are doing this to us. Okay, they're dividing us and doing all this stuff so that they can bring about this system where nobody who's elected, Gates, none of these people are elected, are going to be in control of us. It's going to be a total nightmare, on top of the fact that what it really is a totalitarian hellhole that they're creating, all of which will be ruled by these wicked people who are no sicker than any psychopath we've been taught about in history, in this country, in this world. From Jack the Ripper to all these people are 1,000 times sicker, I can guarantee you. If you read the books that the occult read and the rituals that they perform with children, etc., you can't even imagine. And these are the people who will be in control of us. No thanks, I'll pass. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all well. God bless you as always and your families.